to the Lunch Break Show. Of course, it is not Christopher Jones, but it is Randolph Critchlow filling in for Christopher Jones this May. We apologize for the late start, but we are on the move and we are going to be delving into some topics today. Christopher Jones, of course, is the chief whip and he's on parliamentary duties today. He's dealing with some work in his constituency. So we'll forgive him for today and I'll fill in for the next 45 minutes or so as you join us here on the Lunch Break Show. Of course, this weekend, the APNU-AFC parliamentarians, the MPs, they were on a parliamentary outreach in the mining town of Linden in Region 10, so to speak, not only in the heart of the town, but they were in the outskirts in Comaka, in Aichuni, a number of parts of Linden, Region 10, sorry, and they were, of course, meeting with the persons. They're meeting with the community members. They were distributing hampers. They were taking the information and the concerns of those persons who are in the community. Of course, Region 10 is a stronghold of the APNU-AFC, and we would have listened keenly to the concerns of those persons in our stronghold and in our base, so to speak. We'll be discussing that outreach. We have, of course, some pictures, and we have some MPs that will be joining us, notably Mr. Devin Sears, who is the regional MP, region number 10. And of course, we also have joining us from region 5, who was also on the trip, Mr. Vince Roy Jordan, MP. We are going to be delving into a number of issues concerning region number 10. What are the major issues? What did the residents say? What the members of the community, the concerns they express, and what is the way forward as we look at this most important region in Guyana, especially when it comes to the APNU-AFC and the work that we'll be looking to do over the next couple of years, and then, of course, eventually when we are back in power. So without any further ado, let me bring in the two MPs. We want to welcome Devin Sears from region number 10. Devin, good afternoon. How are you?
I'm pretty good, Randy. I trust all is well. Happy Monday. We've had an
Yes,
incredible weekend, and
yeah.
everybody's fired up and ready to go back into power.
Yes, Stephen. And as we just jump right in and let the people know what happened this weekend. I know coming off of the People's Parliament at Stabroek, the APNU-AFC hit the road and went to your home region. What transpired this weekend?
Well, going back to the People's Parliament that we had, all the MPs was rallied up. All who, of course, without them sleeping and so on. But we really came part of the People's Parliament and then straight to my hometown, Linden and Region 10. So throughout the last Saturday, we visited several areas like we were hoping to go to other areas, but I mean resources and everything kind of stuff that will happen in the town, but it's not that we got to go to those areas along the strip in 47 and Great Falls, all the way to the Johnson. We're going to touch all those places, but just we could not have done it last Saturday. But let me just say, our support base in Region 10, they have regained confidence, they're ready to work, and they've been saying to us, look, we know we are about to come, and we came, we listened to our concerns, and we got them. Right? So that's what happened. Also, we shared out some horses, some shut-ins, some horses, and or the usual farmer, fantastic job ensuring we won the election fair and square, and we cheated, and we're still here, we're still fighting.
Yeah, even if we start to look at some of those issues that are playing out in Linden, I know that, and I'm going to divide them. Well, I grew up in Linden, and we had this running joke. We only had channel 11 and channel 8. I don't know what's the situation now, but I know that there is a radio station in Linden that was given over to the people of Linden. I heard recently that there are some concerns that this is not being you're not being allowed to use it as you should, to let the people of Linden and Florida feel know what is happening, and whether or not there is some sort of monopolization on the part of the government and NCN. Um, can you shed any light on whether or not this radio station will be able to be accessed by the people of Linden and to be used for the work?
Well, coming up to 2012, when we had that rising electricity tariff protest, whereby we lost 3 of our one of the pressing issues was with the television station being given back to the networks um, for the people who fight the arrangement. Uh, what ended up happening under our administration, we allowed that process to start, which Channel 30 was taken back and involved on the broadcasting network, LBN. But
Yeah.
subsequently, when this new government came in, they somewhat stalled that process of completion. And that clearly says to us that they are trying to silence the people of the and by extension, silencing the 18 plus years. Let me use a quick scenario what happened. Just last week, we wanted to host a live program on the television, and we were told, yes, you can. However, it needs to be pre-recorded, sent to Georgia for approval, and then they will see whether or not it should or not. So we had to. Sorry.
Sorry about that.
Yes. So now we have to go to alternative means of spreading our messaging. And even when it comes to the radio station, which is privately owned 104.3, the same sort of thing, the same sort of restriction is here, whereby they're saying to us that, look, when you come out here, you can't talk about politics. Don't criticize the other side. But we're politicians. We represent the people. And we want that message to go out here. So from both fronts, it seems as if there's someone at the top that is pulling strings and trying to restrict the 8 plus games getting its message.
So, what will be done in the future? I know that the license belongs to the people of Linden. I am hoping that plans are in place to ensure that that radio station can be used um, by the people of Linden. What are the next steps?
Well, just tomorrow we're going to be having some meetings. The chairman of the region, and this is how we have set it. The people of Region 10 elect their representative, and by right, those representatives, whether it be the chairman, the mayor, the MP, and several other stakeholders, are part of that board. And that is by an elected position rather than an individual. So let's say tomorrow uh, Darren Adams is no longer the chairman. Whoever the next chairman is will be the chair of that LPN board. So right now we are meeting very soon and trying to engage forward in ensuring that we regain control of the television station in the interest of the members.
Okay.
But we know
Okay.
in the past, Minister McCoy would have met with the NCN or the Veterans Squad, but nothing has been solidified in charge of the people. But, but listen, we have fought what we can in terms of the television station. Persons dying because of government that did not care about people. So now, at this stage, we have to meet them. Life has been lost. We fought for that. We know, Randy, I can say this here. We see this control freakism all over the country. We have set up radio stations all across the land. And now the PPP either fired those persons being employed at the radio stations, or it's using that as a control mechanism. Feed propaganda to the residents. So we're not going to have that here.
Okay, I'm happy that that is a position of the people in Linden. I'm very, very happy that that's a position of the people, because information is key. Understanding that there needs to be an avenue for persons to get the information, the correct, as we like to say on these shows, the credible and valid information that is coming out of Linden.
That's
We're
right.
going to let's kind of backtrack to the event that we had this weekend. I know the leader of the opposition was up there. Um, what were some of the major concerns as you were going through the communities with the other MPs that were raised by some of the residents in Linden?
But one of the things that came up that is prominent right now is the election petition. Our support base were concerned as to if we win it or not, right? And basically, we assured our supporters that we are going to win this petition. We are going to take it as far as possible, even petition 99, we'll take it as far as possible. But we know that the people they're going to use, the manipulation tactics, not to ensure that we get to this petition court, what we're going to push. But in the same breath, while we're prepared for the petition hearing and all these statements, we are full campaign mode because if when we win it, we still have to go to election. I know that's Randy, that's why I'm wearing my t-shirt, right? My 18+AFT t-shirt. We're ready, we're ready, we're ready. We had some other issue whereby supporters believe that we're
Apologies.
yeah, yes,
Continue,
sorry.
continue.
Yeah, our supporters believe that their interests are not being represented by the government. We expect that. Because for 23 years, the administration did not do any transformative projects in under the 8 plus years, 5 years. There are dozens of projects we have embarked on that not only employment, but have really transformed the lives of people. Like take for instance, we have taken several schools, the teachers, accommodation, money, and the buses. We decided to build for primary school. So, period, the updated part of the center. And by we have a care center, doctors, waters, water ambulances, and this route we have for the we have a modern station, we have a hospital officer,
Even we're having some trouble. We're having some difficulty hearing you properly. I think some of the
is
persons
this
on.
better?
Yes, you probably need to hold that microphone a little closer.
Oh, okay, okay. So I'm
Uh-huh.
saying under within the 5 years that we've been in there, we have had many transformative projects, and I began to list some of them. But just continuing, we established a passport office here. We built a women's shelter for abuse and battered women. We even moved to handing over the television station to the towards people living in. We took a guest house and we modernized. We have updated the municipal market. And there are dozens of other projects that we've created. Even when it comes to the long-standing Wismar Mackenzie Bridge, we started the feasibility study for that. Also, the Linden Suicide Highway, and even secured funding for the Linden Letton Road. So when persons say to us that, look, the APNUAFC government did nothing within 5 years, I'm saying we did a lot, right? We did a lot, and we intend to do more when we get back into government.
Okay. Good. I know that the regional chair recently would have been trying to identify a number of, or identifying on social media, a number of those transformative projects that were done not only in Region 10, but across Guyana under the APNUFC. I want to bring in now Mr. Vince Roy Jordan. I don't know if he's still with us. MP Vince Roy, who was also on that trip. Vince Roy, good afternoon.
Hi, good afternoon, Andy.
Hi, good
You
afternoon.
hearing me?
Yeah, we hear you loud and clear. We hear you loud and clear. I know you
Thanks
were.
for having me.
Yes, I know you were also in Region 10 and you were a part of that outreach. Uh, what was that experience like, and how did the residents take the visit by the team?
Right. So thank you very much for asking, Randy. It was a good experience. One that I can say that it really brought out the full potential of the coalition parliamentary opposition, and the team was greeted by the residents of Comaka, Three Friends, and Mariah Elizabeth, where I was, in a very unique way, I would want to put it. Because I was expecting that when I get on the ground, people would ask questions in various forms of where were you, what were you doing, and all this, the likes. But
Mm,
when we got there, the residents immediately began to tell us about what we did for them, Randy. And that was completely, I call it amazing. They spoke about the roads that we would have built to improve their lives. They spoke about the bridges. They spoke about internet access. They spoke about CDC development. And only to know that all those developments that would have taken place in that community, or those communities rather, they're destructive elements of the PPP now. So the residents were actually speaking about the developments and ready to complain about what the PPP is now doing. For example, in one area of Komako, they are now damaging the road that the coalition built. And so we eventually had a look at a wide cross section of the community. The residents also spoke about the grave concern where they spoke about dismissals of staffers of NDMA and the ambulance brigade here in Region 10. Many persons might not be aware of what is happening directly with those people. We have a number of youths who have been dismissed since the coalition went into office, since the PPP rather went into office, uh, and through the NDME, some 60 something young people, and now they're targeting the ones belonging to the ambulance brigade. And it's very disturbing and disgusting to know that it is happening among predominantly our black people, Randy.
mm.
Hmm.
So I know, just remind us about the communities that you would have visited. You were part of a team. We know the team, the entire team was split up around Region 10. Where were you, and uh, they, how did they respond to the hampers that were brought and distributed?
Right. Well, as I said earlier, I was in, along with Miss Annette Ferguson and the Honorable Director of Finance, we were in Komako, Three Friends, and Mariah Elizabeth.
Okay.
And there we met, Randy, with a woman by the name, I must point this out, a woman by the name of Miss Lorimer, Leah Lorimer.
Mm,
She is one of the recipients of the hampers that we distributed. And she was clear to point out to us that she was deprived of the $25,000 COVID cash grant relief that the PPP administration is present was distributing in Region 10, and as a matter of fact across the country. And so she was so much thankful for the hamper that we took to her, simply because um, she could now benefit from something. And she expressed her gratitude by saying she did not receive it from the government of the day that is responsible for ensuring that she gets some amount of relief for COVID, but she got it from the parliamentary opposition. And so she was thankful. And to my surprise, Randy, that woman is 90 years old, 90 years old, who happened to be a shut in, and
yes.
you would deprive such a person. So that is a level that the PPP and the activists, the workers, they're going to. That's the level.
Yeah.
Um, Apart from her, there were a number of other persons who received hampers. Persons, we ensure that youths receive hampers, Randy. We ensure that shut-ins, we ensure that those in vulnerable situations, that they receive hampers. And so when we touch the entire community of Three Friends, Komaka, and Mariah Elizabeth, at the end of the day, we can safely say that it was a success and the people welcomed the coalition MPs.
Yeah. MP, I know you're responsible for region number 5. Are you seeing similar
That's
things?
right.
How the COVID team would have been in your region already? Are some of
Right.
the problems similar in region 5?
Oh, Randy, they're very much similar. Very, very much similar. You had cases in Region 5 whereby persons were told point blank that you did not support the PPP, and so you would not be receiving the cash grant. Now, Randy, you tell me, how can you associate COVID relief cash grant with whether you supported the PPP or not? It is completely ridiculous. That is something that belongs to every household, as they put it, and it is supposed to be evenly distributed, and it should not warrant the call for race, class, color, or creed. You understand? And so it is a similar thing in Region 5, and I can also speak safely for Region 6. So I think it's in the nature of the PPP and the people that are associated with the PPP.
So, were there any attempts made by the coalition to get the names and the contact information for those persons who were left out, so to speak, and to make representation for them?
Yes, well, actually, we launched a platform on social media, and there's a system whereby you can get your names recorded, your address, telephone number, and such like, and we will compile a database, and then we can, at the end of it, make the necessary representations for those persons who were deprived. Such persons are persons who might have been two and three in one building, but they represent the different households. And then you have persons who are tenants, who they, in those cases, only the landlord would have received, and the others were not recipients. You had cases where persons were completely marginalized by the PPP. They were passed. Some people were just not given, as I said, because they supported the coalition, and such like. So those persons, we have a system whereby we gather the information, and then we make the necessary recommendations and representation.
Yeah. I know we've been commenting a number of weeks now on the ad hoc nature which this COVID grant has been distributed, and it seems as though persons on the ground, those supervisors of the distribution on the ground, they're acting with impunity. They don't seem to have to report on anything. So if they want to give a house 3 sets of money, they want to give places that we know that people don't live in the home, but somebody's just posing there and they know this. We're hearing cases of persons who are being asked, I can give you a next one, but you got to give me back 5,000 or something like that. These cases have been reported.
Right, right.
Are you seeing similar things up there?
Well, yes, Randy. And the thing about it, I have had experiences with similar cases. One whereby persons were um, told to be present at particular locations so as to receive the monies, when we know fully well that the persons actually do not reside there. But
Mm.
look at the backlash, Randy. When they finished collecting that money, they had to then go and distribute among the supervisors and the field workers. So
Yes,
I am still waiting and trying to understand the audit system that the fraudulent president is speaking about, that they're going to use, and what form of accountability are they using
yeah,
to account for the monies that they are distributing during this COVID distribution. First thing
yeah,
I want to say, Randy, how can you begin to distribute monies across a region when you have not even done a census to understand how many households are first and foremost in the region? Then when you go out on a daily basis, you just take monies by envelopes, and you walk and you distribute. You should have an understanding that, look, I'm going to go into, let's take Linden for example. I'm going to go into Blueberry Hill today, and Blueberry Hill has 100 households, so I'm going to walk with 100 envelopes. It didn't work that way during the distribution, Randy. They took
yeah,
envelopes by the numbers, and they just catered for large amounts and said that we're going to distribute. So, be that they distributed to trees or animals, it was distributed and the money went. So,
yeah,
I am still awaiting the procedure or the process that they're going to use to actually audit and give account for the monies that were approved and spent by this fraudulent administration.
Well, that is when the chickens are going to come home to roost, because it seems as though
Mhm.
we would have been saying there's no sort of accountability. These people don't have to give account, because
None.
there are reports of persons going back to the same street that they went there and asking the residents, "Oh, we passed here already." It's as if
Yes.
yeah.
Yes. And you see, that is the thing, when we try to give them ideas or for them to
I think Mr. Vince Roy's internet is giving some trouble on that end. We will come back to Vince Roy. I think we still have Mr. Devin Sears with us. Devin, I want to. I, I know that you are the chairperson of the tourism committee in Linden there. I want to switch gears a little bit and talk and what you guys are doing in Linden. I know you recently held the Linden Music Festival, Music Awards, sorry, which was a great success, and persons are hoping that that is expanded nationally. Some have called for the Minister of Culture, Youth and Sport to take up the challenge and have a national music awards, of course, led by the Lindeners taking the lead. I know that earlier or in the early part of the year, and I can't remember exactly which part. I know it's the first quarter. You normally have Linden Chong Week, but we know what is happening with COVID. What are the plans, if any, for any sort of tourism activity this year in Linden?
Well, Randy, I must say that the first ever Linden Music Award was a success. Thanks to you and your team for playing the integral role, because we knew, given the whole COVID-19 pandemic, we were able to have a large crowd and large gathering, but we did it mostly virtually. So thanks so much. This will be an annual event. It's going to be again in November, and we have young artists and young talent coming out. And yes, we really hope it can go nationally. We're in talks with a few persons, right, stakeholders to take it nationally. And this year we'll give recognition to the artists and even companies, right? So those persons will take it to the industry. For this year, Linden Town Week will have to be done virtually. There will be no event based on the information that I got from virtual mayor, and the deputy mayor also inside, who's the head of the social development. The events will be virtual. Everything is spelling bee. Even the parties will be virtual. The all black party, like we did last year, will be virtual. All white, the color party. So we're going to be fetting in our homes where we're safe, and we don't want any of those super spreaders. Um, Generally, when it comes to tourism in Linden, we've seen a spike. We have about 300 persons coming to almost every weekend. Seemingly, it's a concern for us because we don't want large gatherings. But how they come, whether it's by family or little things, and they take part in kayaking, sightseeing, those things. So we're really grateful for that, and that is keeping our economy here in Linden. But there are
Okay.
some challenges. There are some challenges in that we've had courses very important link. It's an access point to the dump site. We found courses with a lot of dump garbage here, but that through our leadership, through the Libertarian Council, assistance from the
Yeah.
outside, that
Still,
entire
we're
area is
still
clear
having
now.
some difficulty hearing you, but we're getting most of it. Let's figure I can just assist our audience here. We're saying that the Linden Town Week is going to be a virtual affair.
Yes,
All the activities are going to be done virtually. You're going to be broadcasting on the internet and on
yes.
television too.
Well, we're going to try with the television part, and I mean everything comes at a cost, but we're going to try that. But right now, we are going to be going everything via Facebook and YouTube. So that's the format we take this year, and we encourage all Lindeners and Guyanese across the world to be a part of this mega social media event called Linden Town.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much for that. I want to ask you one controversial question before we go. um, we note that a particular Lindener, a famous Lindener, has been sort of earmarked for the director of sport position, Mr. Mohammed. And Kashif and Shanghai made famous, of course, through that football competition. What is the general um, feeling, Linden, concerning that individual, and is there support for that individual as the director of sport? I'll put you on I'll put you on the spot a little bit. I know.
No, actually, it's not on the spot. The feeling is this: Kashifa and Shanghai really transformed football in Guyana, hands down. They've taken it to a different level over the years. Also, they started their franchise right here in Linden at the Mackenzie Sports Club ground. But what Lindeners were mainly upset about is that instead of building it from here, let it remain here because this was a perfect economic opportunity. Year-end football was the thing. Persons from Borby says people all over the Caribbean used to come to Linden, and that is how persons used to make a little money and get a little hustle and be good about that. But when they took it away, they took away that economic spike that we expect year end from Linden to Georgetown. And that angered Lindeners the most. Now, what we see playing out recently is them putting a plan to rehabilitate Kansas Sports Club ground. Mind you, me and my team, the regional chairman, vice chair, the mayor, deputy mayor, and even Member Parliament Figueroa, we're not against development, right? But what we're saying is that don't just come and shove a proposed plan down the Lindener's throat and say you have to accept it. We're not sure of Mr. Mohammed Kashi's position in the Ministry of Culture and Sport. As far as we know, he has not been confirmed as the director of sport. But here he is making proposals and saying this is what we're going to do and get done with the Mackenzie Sports Club. And one of the loose statements that has been made is that look, we're gonna tear it down as we there in government, right? And we're gonna do what we want. No, 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 no. That don't work here in Linden. You consult with the people, have their input, have a community buy-in. So when the structure is erected, Lindeners claim ownership of it. Another thing that we were looking at is the financial aspect of things. Now, if you're going to take $20 million just to tear down a site and then rebuild it, we're saying, look, $20 million can rehabilitate sports club maybe. I'm not a contractor. But if you're going to be having a budget of maybe $500 million, $500 million can be broken down into several phases and repair other sports facilities and maybe even have indoor museums, sports gymnasiums, and these kind of things. Or find a spot, maybe in Amelia's Ward, which is the largest housing scheme in the Caribbean, right? And is booming right now economically. Find a spot there which can accommodate all sports, whether it be football, cricket, basketball, lawn, tennis, have an Olympic-sized pool, and several other things. And these things can only come out of the consultation. And that is what we're not accepting. Don't come and shove things down in people's throat. We have never had it done before. We don't have any intent to have it done now. But we welcome development, but development with consultation. With regards to Kashif Mohammed, if he is placed in that position as director of sport, we hope that he represents Linden and Region 10. Because as you know, there's any sports discipline, that is what we dominate in. And we want also to see the completion of that synthetic track this year. We don't want to wait till next year when we get back into government. The project has already started, and we want that the synthetic track done as well.
All right. Well, I thank you for your comments on that, and I note, though you are new to Parliament, you maneuver that question quite skillfully, like a seasoned politician. Thank you very much.
Randy, I know time is going, but I want to just touch on a few things really, really
Yeah, go
quickly.
ahead.
This has to do with the firing of those 21 NDA data entry workers, which are all young people. What we try to do is to digitalize how Guyana functions, and those data entry clerks were essentially moving Guyana into a digital age. And when we saw the termination letter of those 21 young persons in Linden, it really hurt our hearts because these are young people who went through a series of training through the former Forest Ladies Sanctuary Ranger, as well as Ministry of Telecommunications and so on. And they have really put in their time and their effort and their energy. And I'm saying to this government repeatedly that you had promised people 50,000 jobs. 50,000 jobs were promised people. And you're still firing more. So now we have almost 2,000 persons within the public sector fired, and we cannot lay back and accept this. And Vince Roy mentioned earlier about the fruits of the ambulance brigade. Yes, listen, John's ambulance brigade is a private entity contracted by the hospital complex, but they have families to go home and feed. They have children to look after and try to do the best with the little money that they get from the month to make ends meet. And these are men and women you would basically punishing because of political points of view. I'm not sure what the end plan is, um, Randy, when it comes to what this government is really doing. It really hurts my heart to see that, and I just had to mention that. The other thing, what we recognize too in Region 10 is that under the APNU AFC government, we said that some of the contracts will go to small contractors. And we're not seeing that happen. Majority of the major contractors are out of Linden. They're coming in here, they're bringing their workforce. They're not employing persons from Linden, whether it is the patch of road or build a school. They're bringing their people from along the coast and West Dem or wherever they're coming from. How are we talking about providing jobs to people when our own people are being ignored when it comes to employment? I'm saying these things are very, very unacceptable. Linden and Region 10 is a harmonious place. This is a place where you can come and relax. Whether it is your Indian, Amerindian, Portuguese, whatever it is, we hold each other as one. You will never find a person going out there and say, look, I am African or I'm Indian. You hear him saying, I'm a Lindener. And that is what we hold dearest to our heart. When we saw the appointment of our guardians, which was predominantly Indo-Guyanese or Indians, we said this has never happened before. What we try to do is to have a balance with things. If you have Africans, you have Indians, you have some Portuguese, we wanted a balance. And it seems as if now we're going down a racial line. And these are some of the things that is really, really hurting us as leaders and as Region 10 residents. But we are going to continue fighting, and we encourage those who are watching this live right now. This message that we're sending is not just for you alone. We want you to go and tell your neighbor that look, these are the issues that people in Guyana are being faced with, and we have to address them and let them share it with someone else. Because if we're going to be locked out of state media, the newspapers, the television stations, whatever it is, we're going to use this platform to spread our message, and we're depending on you to help spread it for us as well.
Yeah. We thank you for bringing that to the attention of the public. For those persons who are now joining us, we're in conversation with MP Devin Sears from Region Number 10. We were just talking about a number of things. What we mentioned last, of course, the firing of those data entry persons, those persons from the NDMA, over 100 young people would have been sent home in the midst of a pandemic. This heartless administration continues to send persons to the breadline, and of course a number of other issues there in Linden that we'll be continuing to discuss later. Devin, we want to thank you very much for joining us this afternoon, and we hope that you come back as these issues come up. The forum is always here for you to come and discuss that.
Yes, thank you. Long live the APNU AFC. God bless you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Devin Sears. If you're now joining the lunch break show, of course, I'm sitting in for Mr. Christopher Jones, who is on some duties this midday. We're having conversations with Mr. Devin Sears and Mr. Vince Roy Jordan, MPs, both MPs. Vince Roy is going to be rejoining us now. We were having some conversations about your outreach, Vince Roy, to region number 10. And of course, we want to continue on that same vein. And you're about to tell us there are some developments, some things that you found out in Kamako.
Yes, Randy. So thanks again. And while on the trip in Kamako Outreach and Mariah Elizabeth, three friends, there's something important that one must understand today. The public must be aware of how callous and cruel the PPP administration could be. The main water stream coming from the Demerara River, Randy, which the people use for drinking, bathing, laundry, dishes, you name it. It is the main source of water. It has not been cleaned since the PPP administration took office. All that it needs is a simple expansion of the Demerara River and the
Mr. Though we're again having some problems with Mr. Jordan's feed there. We're gonna ask the operator, yeah, to bring me back in. So, yes, talking about the trip this weekend by the parliamentary opposition into Region 10. You're back now, sir.
Yes, sir. I'm back in, and then it's the internet speaks of the government that is in office of the day. So um, I'm going to continue.
Yes. Go ahead.
Wow, the internet is going crazy at the moment. Probably they know that I'm about to reveal something important, but the people of Kamaka, they're suffering to have some amount of clean water, Randy. They
Yeah.
are using the water that is presently polluted by the miners up more up the river, and they're now down on the lower part, and the water is completely dirty. It is murky. It has heavy substances within it when it comes through the taps, and so the residents there are suffering tremendously. But what is most alarming is that in Tree Friends area there is a malaria outbreak where over 450 persons have been affected by this malaria outbreak in Tree Friends. And it is all because of the polluted water and the environment. The people are now worried as to what is the next move. But lo and behold, the PPP activists on the ground, when they visited Randy, you getting me clear?
Mm-hmm.
Are you getting me clear, Randy?
Oh,
When they
yes.
visited, when they visited the area, they distributed bed nets, and this is very. Uh, I don't have words to describe them, Randy. Shameful. They went about to distribute bed nets, and they used the PPP voting list to distribute bed nets, Randy.
Wow.
It was chief by one Dexter Hardin, a PPP RDC councillor. They went to every red house, as I would put it. You know, the former president, David Granger, would normally say, we don't have red and green villages, but they went to every red house and gave them bed nets and the necessary pills that they had to get. And they skipped each and every greenhouse and neglected them, failing to give them what is most vital at this time, and that is the bed net and whatever other stuff they had to distribute, water treatment pills and such like. Randy, it is we have come to a point or a time when we see that the PPP doesn't care about Guyanese. The PPP doesn't care about the well-being of our people. They are more concerned about just ensuring that a few people are taken care of, enriched, and just a few are safe. But when we look at that community, Randy, we have Africans, Amerindians, East Indians. It is mixed. And they have done the same thing to all the races simply because they are coalition supporters, Randy. And so I want the public to know that a little village in Region 10 by the name of Mariah Elizabeth and three friends, two little villages. There are people suffering, hundreds of people suffering from malaria, and the PPP has not yet sent one emergency medical outreach team to that community. And what surprises the entire thing now, Randy, is that one of the residents there, who is 90 years of age, I mentioned earlier, she is affected by the same malaria. Her granddaughter, who is a medical, what you call them, community worker at the health center, she refuses to go and attend to her grandmother. And that is the granddaughter, and Miss Lorimer, Leah Lorimer gave me permission to mention this publicly. The granddaughter of Leah Lorimer, who is the community health worker at the health center there in Three Friends, refused to go and give her grandmother medical attention simply because her grandmother supports the Apnu+Afc. And if you look on the screen, that's the same woman that is sitting there. They refused to give her medical attention and do basic checks such as her blood sugar and pressure and such like. And that is the level that the PPP has taken this country to, Randy. That is the level that we're at today.
Yeah. And this is why these outreaches into the various communities are very important, so we get a sense of what is happening, what the people are going through, and what this fraudulent administration is up to. I want to shift gears a little bit before we close off, MP, and talk about what is happening in your region. What, given the COVID, and I know your region is a big agricultural region, region number 5. Given COVID-19, how has the region dealt with that, and what are the economic prospects in the next couple of months throughout this year as we are continuing to deal with COVID?
Well, Randy, I can say, firstly, let me deal with how they would have dealt with COVID. If you recall, Randy, for the first part of, or the latter part of 2019, 2020, sorry, Region 5 hadn't not one COVID-19 case. I don't know if you can recall that.
Yeah.
And after the PPP administration would have fraudulently been installed into office, and the reckless behavior of the persons who were placed to manage Region 5, we now have close to 300 cases. And Randy, to speak about economic prospects, as we speak, there are persons rice farmers who cannot go back to their fields simply because of the failure of MMA, ADA, and NDIA. There are rice farmers who are find it very hard to have water to their crops because of MMA. Randy, there are persons who are being treated in an unfair manner by the MMA when it comes to acquisition of their lands.
Right. We know we've been experiencing technical difficulties all day, but I think we're fighting through it. We're fighting through the technical difficulties we're having there with the connections with the MPs. But as he would have been explaining just now, there are a number of issues as it relates to agriculture in region number 5, along with the mismanagement and the ad hoc nature in which they're distributing those COVID grants. I think back now, MP, you can continue.
Yes, Randy. So I was telling you about the MMA ADA, where we would have distributed a number of leases to farmers across Region 5, and so that they can get to the fields and so on, have their crops planted and then reap. And to date, Randy, some of them are being deprived of some of the basic amenities that they need, Randy, simply because the PPP has politicized MMA from what it was supposed to be. The PPP, they're now using through one Mr. Zeig, MMA to do all their dirty works, all their political works. I want to speak about economics from the regional level, Randy. We would have employed over 30 young men, inclusive of women, sorry, to work on what we call a model farm in Region 5. We have a portion of land and in the area of Narstigai, and upon the arrival of the PPP administration into office, they dismissed the entire batch of 30 young people, and they took away the farmlands from those people, took it away from the rule, the arms of the RDC, and that was done by the Honorable Anil Nandalal, and said that they're giving it back to the people who they think that it rightfully belongs to. And today, those lands are full of bushes, and no one is utilizing those lands, Randy.
Yeah. Uh, and again, we see this lack of planning and preparation on the part of the community. Uh, so, Mr. MP Jordan, what's next for what's in the future? I know you would have been part of that debate, right? But what is in the future for Region 5 in terms of the economic things? What programs are in place that these residents can expect in the next coming months? You there, sir? I don't know if MP Jordan is hearing me. Check your microphone. Are you hearing me?
Can you go again, Randy? I didn't get you just now.
Okay, no problem. I'm asking
Sorry
you
about
about
that.
the plans and programs in place. I know we came out of budget debate recently, but the plans and programs in place for region number 5. So what can the constituents of region number 5 expect in terms of economic movement in the region?
Right, Randy. Well, coming out of the emergency budget, if you're talking about there isn't much that the people of Region 5 can actually look forward to. Save and except I heard about some training, Randy, and
Mhm.
trainings. I want to say this clearly. None of them has taken effect to date. None, not one in Region 5. Um, the others would have included works under the Regional Democratic Council. And as I look around, those works are moving apace. And I must say, apace in the PPP communities. So works are being done, but they're done primarily in the communities that are heavily supported by the PPP, the person supporting the PPP.
Okay, okay, that's understandable. Well, let me thank you, Jordan, for your time today and the work that you guys have been doing in the various outreaches. I know that next weekend will be some other community you will be in. Let me thank you for being a part of the lunch break. I was about to say the afternoon rush, the lunch break show, filling in, of course, for Christopher Jones. Enjoy the rest of you to continue to do the good work.
Yes, Randy. Thank you very much. You do enjoy it too.
Yes. All right. Those persons who joined us late, thank you very much. Those persons in diaspora, those persons in the region, right here in Guyana, always been a part of this APNU AFC TV on this Facebook page. Those persons on the YouTube who joining us on YouTube, remember, we're continuing to bring you the credible and valid information. We were in conversation this midday with MP Devin Sears from Region 10, MP Vince Roy Jordan from Region number 5, and get everybody's name correctly so that you talking about a number of issues, including the outreach that we had in Region 10 over the weekend, as the opposition continues to reach to the people, continues to highlight all of the ills of the PPP de facto regime. My name is Randolph Critchlow, filling in for Christopher Jones this minute. We want to thank you for being a part of this. Do join us tomorrow at 12 as we continue bringing you the credible and valid information. Thank you very much for joining us.